Good evening and welcome to this Wednesday, November 18th edition of the Islandstad Sports Show. Joining me as co-host, Jason Juggling J Ford. Jay, we have a lot to talk about this evening. We have two special guests joining us in tonight's show, and that'll be the likes of Javon Roberts, who over the weekend won the Bermuda Amateur Stroke Play or Match Play Championship at the Port Royal Golf Course. And of course, we will be joined later by Leilani Nisbeth, who, her girl, actually, in the end of it all, was the winner for Florida State in the ACC Women's Soccer Championships. So, just looking at today's guest must kind of excite you a little. I know you've tried your hand a bit in golf, and you tried your hand a bit in football, but you haven't reached the heights of these two people coming on.
No, it's definitely, me and Earl, it's touching because when you see, and we've been following young talent for how long?
Very long.
And when you see that talent, get to a certain standard, say, well, that'd probably be. Then they go a little further. Okay, well, then I think that then they go a little further. Okay, you know what? Sky's the limit now, because I just don't know what's in store for both of these young athletes we're going to talk to, and hopefully we get to see what some of their aspirations are. Because for me, I mean, Ms. Nisbet, she's playing in Division I. I don't think we understand how big that is for a young lady from Bermuda. Yeah. Like I said, I went to college down there in Atlanta. So I know how big the SEC and the ACC is down there in those regions, and especially Division I soccer. So to know that she's playing a vital role, as we could say, scoring the winner, I mean, that's going to be something in itself. And young Roberts, you're seeing him dabble on that leaderboard. Somebody, it's gonna get there. It's gonna get there. But it's been consistent, and as we know in sports, when you're being consistent, eventually it comes.
Right. Well, I got a surprise for you because I did get another co-host, and I want to introduce Brother Clay Smith.
Good night.
Welcome back.
How you doing, brother?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. A little tired, though, but I said I'll pop in and show my face,
Right. We were just talking about tonight's lineup of guests. We have Javon Roberts, who won the Match Play Championship in golf at Port Royal over the weekend. And then at the bottom of the hour, we have Leilani Nisbeth coming in to talk about her time at Florida State thus far. So, again, welcome. Earlier today, guys, the Bermuda Football Association released the late transfer list, and on that list, we'll see Somerset Trojans actually get two extra front runners in Malachi Jones from Southampton Rangers and Alan Douglas from Devonshire Cougars. There's a bunch of other guys on the list as well, but we've seen Somerset scrape through games with single girls winning. Adding these two will probably boost that front line of all sorts, because now they have two more genuine threats. What do you think, Jason, of Alan and Malachi joining the Somerset Trojans?
I'm grinning because I spoke with Malachi a few months ago and asked him if he was playing ball this year. He said, "No, I'm had enough. So to hear this news, I'm laughing. I'm laughing. Dougie, I'm a bit surprised because I hadn't seen him in the lineup at Devonshire Cougars, and I actually saw him Sunday, and I meant to ask him Sunday, like, what's going on? So I'm actually surprised, but Clay, I'm pretty sure you'd be smiling because these guys are probably looking to get in some type of shape for cricket. These guys are cricketers first, and even though they like to kick a little ball, but they sometimes use this football season to try to get in shape. So I'm pretty sure that's what these guys are trying to do. That's why they probably don't want to do the preseason in football.
Yeah, they don't want to do all that running and all that.
Coach, you don't grow up now, right, Coach?
Yeah, I'm not you covered. But yeah, the football does help them with their fitness, so they could come out and get a couple of months in and get themselves prepared for what should be hopefully a full season of cricket next year.
Yeah. I know. The talk was that Dougie had moved closer to the West End, so that would kind of line him up to play in Somerset. Yesterday, news came out that Nicky Wells and his Bristol City teammates were unable to train at their training field due to a number of players and staff, coaching staff, coming down with the coronavirus. So that facility was closed. And then just hours, I think about 2 hours before kickoff, Dale Eves' match with Spennymoor was called off because one of the opposing teams had tested positive for COVID before they left their training ground to head to the match. And then, of course, in the Chesterfield match, Milan Butterfield, they went down 3-2 on a late goal. So ups and downs in England. We know the guys in the lower leagues, their matches have been cancelled until this lockdown is changed over. The unfortunate thing, Justin Donova's team have been ruled out for 2 weeks because 2 players in their unit were tested positive, and they have been around the entire team. So kind of they've had to cancel everything for them. So we will keep in touch with what they're doing and how they're making out. The other news yesterday came out, Flora Duffy finished as the points leader along with another young lady, Taylor Brown. As we all know, they both won 2 events over the course of the year. And then, of course, Flora missing the last event with an injury that was revealed earlier this week as well. They finished on the same amount of points. So it's going to be an interesting time because everybody's looking forward to 2021, hoping that they can get back to some normalcy of whatever sport it is. I know there's a lot of emphasis right now being put on the Olympic Games going on because that's the biggest major event for 2021. And of course, not much talk, but the 2022 year is just as big with the Commonwealth Games and the World Cup. Now, we don't know if we're going to be able to have all these qualifiers for these World Cups as well, because that's going to run a risk as well. I mean, you're going to have something put in place for these teams to have this time off to play. It's going to be harder for countries like Bermuda that don't have full-time footballers in the entire squad. You know, and clearly you went through that with the national team, and you guys are preparing to try and qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah.
You know,
it's all part and parcel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're qualifying for the World Cup, and then you're up against full-time guys.
Yeah.
It's a tall order. It's very difficult to work that out.
It is, but I think it comes down to the team making a sacrifice. You have to make a sacrifice as a team if you want to try and accomplish something, you know. And I think that's what happened with the World Cup team when we did qualify. I mean, players made a huge sacrifice in terms of getting up 6 o'clock mornings, making training sessions, training 4 to 5 days a week. You know, that's after working a full day. So those are the sacrifices that players have to make if they want to get to that next level.
Yeah. Jason, if you said that to a local team, sacrifice, what response do you think you'll get?
Okay.
That was the response?
That was the response right there. That was the response. I mean, yeah, and I'm being serious because, like see, sometimes when and we spoke about this before, when somebody doesn't think that something's obtainable, it's hard to get them motivated.
Mm-hmm.
When we see, and that's why we say it's important for the likes of Naki and a lot of these players who are playing and coming back, so they could tell guys it's obtainable if we do X, Y, Z. But when you have a team that doesn't feel, or they see where their ceiling is, and the coach is always going to say, "Look, let's reach for the sky. Let's go a little further." They see a lot of times coaches see a lot more in players than players see in themselves, and it's hard to to motivate somebody who's. I've always said in football, I'd rather have one Wayne Rooney, then 5 guys I've got to motivate every day.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know we're going to be joined shortly by Javon Roberts, but having everybody on the same page, Clay, when you guys were going through that in 2004, leading up to 2005, the buy-in had to be done by even the least player on the team, because and he becomes a very important part of the team because the weakest link, you got to have that much stronger as well.
Yes, every single player is important. You basically have to paint a picture for them and get, like Jason said, get them to believe that it's achievable. Once they can see that the goal is achievable, you'll be surprised how much buy-in you can actually get. Yeah, it's just very important. You know what I mean? I mean, I can recall us having almost like 20 to 25 players training, and for like a good 4 to 5 months in the lead up to that ICC tournament. But every player that was there believed that this is our turn, because we knew that a lot of us were probably on our last hurdle, and we had been around for years. We had been close, and I think it was '92, because I was with Neil and Charlie and that group. We got finished 4th, and the top 3 qualified. So we knew that it was attainable. It's just that we just had to go that actual mile, that actual put in that actual work, basically.
Right. Well, we're going to be joined right now by Javon Roberts, who won the Match Play Amateur Championship over the weekend at Port Royal. 3 days of golf, Javon. First of all, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, guys. How you guys doing?
Hey,
Good evening.
In the 3 days, you probably had all 4 or 5 seasons of weather. Obviously, the Saturday, the match play having to play twice, and of course in the afternoon, those squalls that kept coming through. How do you block that out to try and stay focused in what you have to do?
Well, I think I just recently kind of got comfortable with playing in the rain. It's always windy, so playing in the wind isn't new, but playing in the rain is a whole another element. No pun intended. But you just have to just gotta kind of stay in the moment, stay focused, just try to hit that shot, and it's a little easier with match play because a bad shot isn't as expensive as it is in stroke play. If you make a 10 and the guy makes a 4, you're still just 1 hole down. You're not 6 shots behind, so it's not as expensive as stroke play.
Looking at the first day where you had to play your entire round, how much does it take out of you? Then you have to turn around and try to play the match play the next day, because obviously it's set up as a match play, but then you find you're playing stroke the first day for a ranking, and then it's kind of match after that.
Well, I think the stroke play element was important for me because it kind of gave me the confidence I needed going into the match play, being that I shot 1 under. I beat this guy by a couple shots. It kind of gave me the momentum going forward, knowing that I can, that I'm playing pretty good golf at the moment. So, but it was, it's not a huge transition to go from stroke play to match play rather. You just make the adjustment. There's no magic potion to it. You just get right into it. So
how does Port Royal set up for your game?
Well, it's I'm a member there, so it's a little I had a little bit of an advantage because I've been playing up there for the last couple of weeks, and kind of had the same type of wins, so I was able to do a little bit of homework and hit a few different shots that I figured I'd have in the match play, especially coming from like 14 coming in, where it's really you got some really tough tee shots. So I was able to kind of hit a couple ones that I thought would I'd have to hit, and kind of got comfortable with it. But Port Royal I've learned it more as I've played it more, and having to hit a couple different shots. Before, I never really hit a draw. I was just like a fade player. But now I kind of put the draw in the bag a little bit, and it comes in handy on like 14, where you kind of have to shape it that way. But I feel like it sets up pretty good for my game, because especially when it's windy, I hit a pretty low ball, so
Mm.
it's very very handy in the wind.
Right. When I saw you on number 7, you were 2 down, but you got 1 back on number 7 in the final.
Yeah.
I mean, your next shot, you landed on the green. He doesn't land on the green. How do you think he was in his head by then?
Well, I play a lot of golf with Matt. He's a
Right.
member at Port Royal too, and I knew like one shot is not gonna rattle him. I would have to hit a couple ones to really kind of make him say, okay, Javon's playing well. So I just wanted to. My goal was, because I think I was 2 down through 3 or something.
Mm.
So I was just trying to get it back to like all square by the turn by 9. So I got one back on 7 with birdie, and I think we halved 8 and we halved 9. So I was 1 down going into making the turn, which was, that was fine. I just didn't want to be further down than the 2. Um, but no, I didn't. I didn't get in his head. Matt's a good player. He's been playing competitive golf for a long time. So, 1 or 2 good shots is not going to get in his head like it wouldn't get in my head when he hit him earlier. So.
We're going to be right back. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back with more from Javon Robbins.
We've already sung the praises of Welch's famous grape juice, so healthful and refreshing, a truly great family favorite. So with the festive season fast approaching, remember to stock up on Welch's sparkling juice cocktails, flavorful and thirst-quenching, another celebration of the greatness of the grape. The Welch's White, Red, and Rosé are all wonderful on their own, but for a special seasonal treat, try Welch's sparkling juice cocktail in festive punch recipes, garnished with cinnamon sticks or fresh cranberries. All non-alcoholic and also festive. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Javon, we recently just hosted the PGA championships here, the Bermuda Championships. Being around that environment, what did you learn from these professionals off the golf course? Because you spent a lot of time with them off the golf course.
Yeah, so actually, I got to be friends with quite a few of the players. And I was talking to a friend of mine, Jace Seyfert, who was here for the last 2 years, and I was just talking to him about like how to stay focused, like how to bounce back from kind of like bad showing. And I feel like I had a bad showing in the qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me a couple of his stories, and he was, I think one of the most important things he told me was like, in my practice sessions, don't just work on the things that you're not doing well, but also work on the things that you are doing well to kind of keep it going well. And I think that's what I was kind of lacking a little bit in my practice. It's like I would just kind of practice the stuff that I wasn't very comfortable with, and then like not practicing the stuff that I was feeling like I was doing well. Just kind of solidify it, and just kind of in my mind help me see that I can hit the ball this way. So that was really, it was huge for me, to kind of get that knowledge and get that information from someone who's doing it at the highest level. And then just watching those guys on the putting green and the range, just kind of going through their routine, and seeing how methodical and how focused they are. It was like it's very very informative.
Yeah. Jay, any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple for you, Javon. Champ, I
What's
should say,
happening?
champ, first things first. Champ. So, as a fan, I'm just saying, as a fan, you mentioned about the relationship you have with Matt. So, out on the course, is there any player that you love to just have banter with or just have fun with, especially playing match play, or you're the player that likes to keep quiet and just let his club, do all the talking?
No,
Gotta be one person.
when we're playing club events, I'll banter just with anybody. But, when we get into serious stuff, then it's I don't have a problem conversating and talking, but I'm not gonna be like chatty the whole time. But I'm not gonna be just standoffish and quiet the entire time. And I think Matt and I were both kind of like we were talking, but during the big moments, it was like his focus, I'm focused. We're playing golf right now. We're both trying to win. So it was like very like subdued and quiet and focused for both of us.
Also, looking at the state of the golfer, today's golfer in 2020, especially overseas, once upon a time, Tiger Woods was the big bomber. He was, 300, 320, 330, 340. Now you're seeing guys 350, 360. The bulking up. Once upon a time, a lot of golfers stayed away from the gym. What's next with Javon Roberts? Is he want to try to stay slim and trim and just stay low and steady, or he wants to start banging them 350, 360?
No, there would be no Bryson DeChambeau like workout model for me. No, I'm happy to just kind of do cardio and try to stay in somewhat decent shape. But no, I'm not trying to really gain distance. I'm not trying to do anything fancy. Just trying to hit it in the middle of the face and see where it goes.
What do you think? Do you think something like that is a fad, or you think that's something that's gonna stick around? Because obviously, we see that these trends in other sports, and the youngsters want to hit long. Instead of working on a short game or working on a putting. Obviously, a youngster wants to see how far he can hit the ball. What would you say to the youngsters who are coming through?
Well, I think the best players in the world hit it far, but they also putt well too. And I think what people don't realize about Bryson is that as far as he hits it, when he won the U.S. Open, I think he was like top 5 in strokes gained putting as well. So it's not all about just like hitting it far, but you also have to be able to putt well too. And hitting it far gives you a huge advantage because you have shorter clubs coming in. But at the end of the day, you still have to make the putt. If you can't, you're not going to win. So I don't care how far you hit it. So that's the most important thing.
How much has the equipment changed the game?
Mate, I haven't been playing golf that long, to feel comfortable talking about persimmon drivers and the state of the golf ball and stuff. When I started playing, it was equipment hasn't really progressed that much. I never played those other clubs, so I don't feel comfortable telling you how it's changed. What I can say, like what I've seen is from the TaylorMade products, is it doesn't do anything for like your path if your path is bent, but their twist face technology is very important, where it kind of straightens up a miss. So if you hit it like off the toe, it's gonna kind of turn it back. It's gonna give you more distance and a little bit more of a draw. And if you hit it off the heel, it's not gonna go squirting as far right as it used to. If you have a big slice, ain't nothing gonna help you with that. But if you're hitting it off the face pretty decent, then and a little miss hit, it's not gonna be as exaggerated as another man's club. So that I can say technology has come a long way. Yeah.
Right. Who assisted you? Because you're talking about draws, you're talking about slices, you're talking about somebody has to watch you to tell you what you're doing wrong, because while you're trying to focus in on making sure you're doing everything right, somebody has to give you those tips. Who's been helping you?
I haven't really sat down and had like a proper lesson. I'm a trial and error type of guy, and I come from a tennis background. I played a lot of tennis growing up, so I can't understand hand-eye coordination and how my body moves and hand manipulation and all that. And YouTube's a big help, but also like one of the things that I did a lot was like play with guys that were better than me. So I played with Jared a lot. I played with other guys who are, who's been good players for a long time, and I pick their brain. I emulate what they're doing. I'm a copycat. You just copy, you learn, and you figure out what those guys are doing, and you try to do it. You try to emulate it. But when I get stuck, and I'm not figuring something out, I'll ask Kamiko or Kim Swan or Dwayne Pierman or like one of those Port Royal guys that I see all the time, and they're happy to kind of like, hey, do this, and this, and then kind of go from there.
So you're enjoying learning on the go. Well, if you can win while you're learning on the go, then keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and I think that's why you get so many guys from other sports coming over to play golf, because it's a difficult game. It's very, very challenging, but it's also very rewarding when you kind of figure it out and you hit a couple good shots, and
Right.
that ball goes exactly where you want it to go, and it's like, oh yeah, that's addiction. And you see that straight one that comes out and it
Right.
lands next to the pin, and you make that birdie or something. That's what gets you coming back.
I know 2020 started off well for you, doing well in the Par 3 National Championships up at the Turtle Hill Golf Course. And I know you was looking forward to the qualifier, but obviously COVID put a paid to a lot of that practicing stuff that you would have been able to do in between there. But how do you plan your 2021?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going to happen in 2021. I don't know if travel is going to be open. I don't know. I don't know what work is going to look like. A lot of my golf is dictated by family and work now. So, but before we get into that, I have to really thank my wife for kind of taking control of things while I was, doing my whole golfing thing. She allowed me a lot of time to go ahead and practice, and because she knows how much like competitive golf means to me and stuff. So, without her blessing, saying go ahead and do what you gotta do, so that she can, she's taking care of the boys and putting the kids to bed and getting breakfasts and all that type of stuff while I'm at the golf course practicing. Without her, it's not this would have happened at all. So, thank you to my lovely wife, Allie, upstairs. I think she's watching right now. So,
Well done, Chuck. Well done. Well done, Chuck.
yeah,
Happy life. Happy life.
you know it. You know it.
Well,
Yeah, no. So,
Javon, I
know
do
what-
want to say thank you very much and congratulations yet again.
Thank you.
I know you're one of those avid golfers that likes to put in the time, and now you get rewards.
Yeah.
And if anything, you can tell someone if you work hard at it, anything's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's like it feels good to to get this victory after I had my net showing at the qualifier. So it was good to get right back into my next event and play well, and get a win, which I'm really, really happy about. And so it's going to be good. It's some good memories creating for me in my next events.
Right. I know there was a lot of ribbon going on because Matt was playing his nephew in the other semifinal, which would have been a lot of fun because there was going to be a corral in the final.
Right. Yeah, that's what he told me. He said, well, either way, it's going to be a corral in the final. So, make sure it's you. Like, okay, I just got to get through Aaron West.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was a challenge in itself.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us. Wish you all the best. And we'll be talking to you soon in the next golfing event that you participate in.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. We'll be back with
Thank you,
more
Sheldon.
Island Stat Sports Show after these messages from our sponsors.
Coconut oil has been popular here in Bermuda as a skin moisturizer for generations, but is sometimes avoided in cookery because of its unhealthy reputation. We've witnessed a change in attitudes as recent findings indicate that coconut oil is actually heart healthy and can enhance our immune systems, increase metabolism, energy and endurance, and improve digestion. Nutiva coconut oil is a superfood in its own right, and this month we're featuring Nutiva organic shortening made with organic coconut and red palm oils and also hemp seed oils. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
and welcome back. We want to thank Javon Roberts and congratulate him yet again for his performances, for his performance during the Match Play Championship. Now, Jay, guess who's online? Well, hello, Leilani Nesbitt. How are you?
Hello, champ.
Are you still celebrating?
Kind of, yeah.
Well, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
You this season has been a special one, and also a kind of a challenging one for you guys, with so many restrictions, not knowing if your season was going to actually come about. But once you guys did find out that you were going to have a season, what was the coach's emphasis on getting you guys prepared to play your season?
Yeah, I mean, definitely one of those things where you're trying to go back and forth. Obviously, everyone was in their own place during quarantine, so we were figuring out when exactly we were going to come back to school to do like all the protocols, the COVID testings, different thing like that, the quarantining, since that was very vivid over the summer. So I mean, we were just deciding how it was going to look for all of us to get back, and like what was going to be the safest option, getting us all back to school. But I mean, yeah, I mean, as soon as we got the clear to be able to sort of stick in our bubble, once we were constantly getting tested and different things like that, we were able to train pretty normally, compared to our season last year. So we were able to work with the coaches, do extra training. The facilities were open to some extent, but yeah.
You've had your challenges with injuries and so forth. I know one of the things that you were hoping was to stay healthy and show what you're worth. How did it work out for you this season? Because you spent time, you would start a game and then come off and then go back on, kind of thing. Was the coach just managing your time with all the other injuries?
I don't really have an exact answer to playing time wise, but I definitely know that it's just the ability. I know a lot of people have talked about it. Our team has a lot of depth and that we have a lot of talent on our bench. So I feel it's just executing each other's strengths, and that may be bringing a player off to put in another player who has fresher legs, who's able to bring something different to the table. I know compared to my style of play, compared to the people the players who are coming on for me, we're two very different players. We have different styles of play. So I guess just putting in the personnel to match the game was the whole thing around that, I think.
Right. Well, we're going to also be joined by Coach Keita. Good evening, Coach.
Good evening.
Hey, Coach.
We have Leilani on. Another question for you, Leilani. It's you were talking about style of play. You're a very aggressive person going forward. Does the coach allow you to express yourself when you're doing that?
I think yeah. I feel obviously every coach has their different method of approach when it comes to different tactics. I've definitely got more comfortable. I've been able to have a little bit more freedom with what I can do. And I guess that over time, obviously I was a freshman last year. So that's just, I think for me personally, it was just being able to build confidence, building relationships with my other teammates, understanding my role and my responsibilities as an attacking mid on our team. So I feel that's contributed to being able to go out there and do certain things that I may have been too afraid to do last season when I was a freshman and things like that.
Okay. Jay?
Hey, Leilani. Tell me something. For the young girl or lady who's looking to get in or inspired to even go to Division I, like yourself, tell us a typical day leading up or 2 days leading up to a main match as far as you trying to balance schoolwork, but also training and preparation for your game. Tell us what a typical day is like for you guys leading up to the match.
So we would typically play on a Thursday. No, so we'll play 2 games a week. With that, usually 3 days before the game or 2 days before the game, we'll have a hard session to make sure that our fitness is up there and we're able to get ready for that match in particular. The day before the match, we'll typically just go over, it'll be very light. We'll go over different set pieces. We'll go over different, like, the game specific type of material. So they definitely do a good job of balancing our workload. Obviously, it's not going to be very strenuous like the night before the game, because obviously I don't think that would be physically beneficial. But yeah, it's usually hard depending on like the day of the game, if that makes sense.
Coach Keeban, good evening. Unmute your mic.
Yeah, I'm muted. Hey, good evening. How you doing, Lay? Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Fantastic space to be in. Question for you: How did you guys prepare for these finals? And I'm sure your coach did one game at a time, that mentality. But to reach the final, how did you guys prepare for that? What is the postseason preparations for championships like?
I think the coaches, they're definitely well experienced coaches, so they have this approach where they implement certain things depending on the bigger picture, if that makes sense. So we obviously weren't playing North Carolina in the regular season, but we knew that if we wanted to compete with a team like that, they're most likely going to be in the final. Like, we would see them in one of the championship games. So they incorporated like little drills, like we went over certain like specific things that we may have thought was focused towards one game in particular, but in essence it was looking at the big picture, like the big, really big games, like the North Carolina, like the Virginias, and different things like that. So they definitely like did a good job. Like, I'm just going into a training session thinking, okay, we're doing this, getting ready for Notre Dame, Duke, but in reality they were definitely like strategical plans put in place to make sure that we were, because obviously it was like time was limited between our Friday game or our Thursday game and then going over and trying to play North Carolina. So trying to get all of that, game specific info on North Carolina within 2 days would wouldn't be too beneficial.
Question in preparation as well. Do you guys have, what would they call them? So do you guys have the ones that watch the videos that report the information back to your coaches, so that you guys are able to watch tactical videos in the approach to a team such as North Carolina? Because I was very impressed with the fact that you guys came out high and hard against a powerhouse such as North Carolina, and it obviously paid off immediately. So, who is the background staff that allows your coaches to be able to see the bigger picture, or to be able to see past the very next match?
Yeah, I mean, definitely like the coaches, they've obviously gained so much experience, so they sort of know how to like what's best, what works, what doesn't work regarding their preparation for these big matches. And there we have like the sports analysts who record the game, and then they get back to us, like, watch the game in 1 or 2 days. We get all the film, and then we do skill specific like personnel on the players like that we're going to play against, the specific formation that we're going to aim to do. And I feel like definitely with the like the North Carolina game, it wasn't just like let's just be able to like defend one formation. There were several like different approaches that was going on, just in case, like, oh, North Carolina come out and do this, or they play like this, or if they're down, they're going to come out and play this formation. So we had all the information. There's people like behind get all the information, look at all the stats, things like that. So they work together and build what is like the best plan to go forward.
Well, I have one more guest to come in. We're joined now by the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark Wade. Mr. Wade, we have young Leilani Nisbet, we have Coach Keita, we have Juggling Jason, and myself. Good evening, sir.
Hey, good evening. Good evening to you, and good evening to your guests, and good evening to the Starry Show. Yeah, I think thank you for inviting me on. I just want to take the opportunity to congratulate Elon. It's always rewarding to watch our players perform at higher levels. I'm just finishing our monthly executive meeting, and that's one of the topics of discussion. Obviously, what's the latest success of our players or of our team. So hats off to Leilani, and congrats from the rest of the executive as well.
Thank you.
Leilani, you've been in the environment of the movement that was going on in the United States for quite some time, the Black Lives Matter. How did your team bond during that time? And I saw on Sunday you were wearing the wristband that had the BLM on it. How did your team actually come together a lot better using this movement as a source?
Yeah, I think we were definitely all on the same page. We were obviously well aware of the issues that were going on. Even while all of us were in our different places. I was in Bermuda. Some people were like back home, and we were only like doing the online Zoom stuff and our weekly like team meetings and different things like that. We were able to come together and firstly, create a statement within ourselves to address the certain issues and just make sure that our supporters and our fans knew that we were on board with the movement and different things like that. So once we came back to school, it was definitely a priority to make sure that we had something to indicate, our involvement with and different things like that. So obviously we used the BLM wristbands that we started at the start of the season, and then later on we were able to get the unified shirts that was an initiative from the entire like all the programs around the school. So that was really cool.
When you're getting into the finals, obviously there's not much time to, as you said, prepare or even think about what's next. But the lead up to the Sunday's match, after a Friday tough match, what was some of the team talk around being ready? I know your coaches would do a lot of talking, but the players spend a lot of time together. So what was the talk amongst the players looking forward to Sunday?
I think it's one of those things where we all as players, like, we come to Florida State because we aim to play in matches like that. So be able to come up and step up and play in a championship, such a great school, like obviously like one of the best in the country. I think all of us were just excited to be firstly able to get the opportunity and to be able to be in a position where because we sort of when you're doing your whole research on different schools and different programs like this, you look at success rate, you look at staff experience like that, to be able to be a coach with experience like this and matches and a program that's able to compete in these championships. I think we were just all we all definitely wanted to try and execute, and we all obviously wanted to win at the end of the day. So
scoring that third goal and giving yourselves a comfortable 3-0 lead, you end up winning 3-2. That moment, you seemed really, really excited to actually bury that one away.
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely hoping I was able to be able to get one in one of the games. So I was definitely overwhelmed to be able to score in the final.
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah. Usually Jody Brown is on the other side of the ball. What is it like being on the same side as Jody Brown, who's actually quite a phenomenal player? I mean, I followed your team all season, and he's probably a freshman that has had a lot of minutes for being a freshman. But we know the type of player that she is. We have seen her quite often. So, what is she like as a teammate and a player?
Yeah, it's definitely been cool to be able to get to know her. Obviously, like when we played Jamaica, I think you only see like certain aspects of their game. Like she can score goals, but actually, like it's like the little things, like to be able to make penetrating runs, to be able to try and get a back line out of their structure to open space for attacking mids to run onto. It's like little things like that that she's been so good at this season. I feel like, and even her being a freshman, and obviously our other striker, Krista McFarland, who's up top, and she's a senior. So to be able to look at the amount of time that Jody has to develop her game, and it's become so, like, she's so dangerous, she's so fast, you know, up in that attack. So I feel like as a teammate, she's funny. She's definitely a cool girl. But yeah, as a player, I feel like she has so much potential, and she's had a phenomenal season, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see just how much better she gets.
Awesome.
Hey, Leilani, 2020 COVID has had a big impact on fans. Lack of fans.
Yes.
What has it done for you guys as far as playing with a lack of fans, and especially in a final where you knew it would have been packed?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But then again, it may be a blessing in disguise. Obviously, North Carolina is in North Carolina, so if fans weren't restricted, those seats would probably been filled with blue and white. Obviously, Florida's a little bit longer to go, but I mean, it was like the environment was good. I was able to have like some of my close family in the stands. So that was a great experience for me. But I feel like it's one of those things. Not the quality of the fans, but like the fans that were there were close relatives. So people's parents were there. So it makes it that much more memorable to be able to. Obviously, we couldn't hug them or different things like that after the final, which was a little weird, but. I don't think that that changed anything. Like, and we definitely supported each other, so we were able to, you know, be excited on the field as well.
Mr. Beard?
Hey, no, I don't have any questions. I'm just excited about seeing our players in higher levels, really, man. Just being able to follow the games and being able to stick my chest out a little bit further when the conversation about Bermuda comes up. So,
Coach Kidder give you elbow back to
Leilani, what is next? Like, what is now? Obviously you guys have your rest time, your downtime. The NCAA is in March, I believe they said. So what's now?
So like you said, we have some free time. I'm personally gonna do like some training here and there with some teammates, but the plan is to hopefully just stay in Tallahassee for a little bit. Then I'm gonna go down to my dad, just get some personal things out of the way. Travel to Bermuda hopefully mid-December, and hopefully be able to do some training and be able to like keep up my fitness to some extent. The plan is to come back early January, so we're able to get all the different things like that. Make sure that if need be, we need to quarantine, we have the time to do so. And then I think it's just sort of, I have no idea what it's going to look like. But I think the plan is to have like a normal preseason going into. I'm not sure what it's going to look like because obviously like we already had our fall season, and we're still waiting for conferences to have their I guess regular season, and then go into the national championship tournament, I guess. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to just play ACC matches with ACC teams until that national championship does happen. So, but I definitely know it always changes. This fall it was so unpredictable with like how many games we were going to have and who we were playing, different things like that. So. But I think, the plan is to get everyone together early January, start, the whole preseason protocols and different things like that. Make sure we're getting the necessary physical tests and medical testing and things like that, and hopefully go from there.
Perfect.
When your season came, when the season came out and was announced, were you guys that much more excited that you now knew you would actually kick a ball for real?
So much. Oh my gosh. I think we were like over the moon just to be able to actually have games. I definitely didn't know what it was going to look like having a fall and not being able to play matches or to, you know, train as regularly as we usually do. So I was so excited.
All right. Well, I want to thank you and congratulations again on behalf of Mr. Wade, the Bermuda Football Association, Coach Keita, Jason, and myself. Again, congratulations. Job well done. But it's not over yet. Still a lot more to do.
Yeah.
Keep on smiling, though.
All right.
All right. We'll be back with more of the Eidenstadt Sports Show after this message from our sponsor.
Every resident of Bermuda deserves to spend their final days with dignity. They also deserve access to privacy for themselves and their loved ones. Although Agape House has lovingly wrapped its arms around thousands of patients and their families, it can no longer meet the needs of our community. There is an urgent need for a new facility, and we need your help to make that happen. Donate today by going to agiftforagape.com or calling 232-0859. Help give Agape House a new home. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Well, Jay, we've come to the part where we're going to get our overseas report, and we're going to first start off with Anne-Marie Burke.
Hi, Earl. It's always so good to hear from you. And I'm coming to you from a little overcast Barbados. We've been having some serious rains over our side of the world. We unfortunately had the loss of a life over the weekend, but nevertheless, it didn't stop the sporting action as we try to wrap up some of our major competitions. One such is the local domestic cricket competition that was concluded on Saturday with the BCA's T20 final. It was won by the Gladiola side up against Wanderers. They defeated Wanderers to lift the 2020 trophy. Among those persons playing for Gladiola is a very familiar name, Ashley Nurse, who is a former West Indies spin bowler. He would have been one to make a big contribution to the Gladiola side, winning the domestic championship. So that's a wrap for cricket here on the island for the year. And it obviously was a truncated season that saw the BCA taking the decision to only play the T20 competitions at the end of this year, coming on to the end over the past 2 to 3 months. The competition would have been going. Obviously, earlier in the year, we would have locked down and had restrictions in place because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But the BCA made the decision to have the T20 competition, and that was successfully concluded last Saturday. Gladiola, as I said before, winning that championship. Looking to try to conclude their season as well are the volleyballers. They're into round 2 of the senior league competition, and just after this final weekend's play, we go into the playoffs, and then we also decide who are the local volleyball champions as well. Of course, this is the volleyball clubs across the island here in Barbados. But more importantly, we're inching closer and closer to history here on the island when it comes to horse racing. The lights are being retrofitted. Final retrofittings, I should say, are being put in place as we prepare to have our first ever night racing here in Barbados, which also will mark the first ever night racing within the Caribbean region. It is set to happen on November 30th. November 30th is Independence Day here in Barbados. So they're expected to be either on the 29th or 30th, the big race day that signals the fact that Barbados can now have horse racing on their lights at night. So we're inching up to that. And in the build up to getting persons, ready for that big event and getting horse racing fans all in the mode, we completed over the weekend on Saturday the Midsummer Classic, and that is the second leg of the Triple Crown here in Barbados. And ironically, it was won by a horse called War Eagle that is owned by none other than the immediate former vice captain of the West Indies team, Craig Brathwaite. Of course, Craig is over there in New Zealand with the West Indies, preparing for that series against the Kiwis. But on Saturday, he had sweet victory when his charge, War Eagle, rode to victory in the Midsummer Classic. He was piloted by jockey Enrico Prescott, and he is trained by Barbados's top trainer, Victor Cheeseman. So Craig was in New Zealand, but rejoicing in a big way as he won the Midsummer Classic, the second leg of the Triple Crown. So not a lot of action right now in Barbados in terms of sports. We would have had on the schedule originally the Barbados in the Independence Invitational Games, but those obviously were actually cancelled because of the COVID-19 pandemic that would have been taking place all within this time right now between the 1st of November down to the 30th as we celebrate our Independence Day on November 30th. Those would have been cancelled, but nevertheless, we still have some individual federations trying to get themselves back in action either to the end of the year or coming on to the beginning of the year. So that's basically it here from me in Barbados. I wish you all the best over there in Bermuda as usual, and I look forward to hearing you next week.
Good day to Earl Bazen. This is Vernon Springer from St. John's Antigua for Islandstad in Bermuda. Sports, wow, up and running. And we would realize that we would have had a new champion around the world in the Pakistan T20 League. And we saw two of our Caribbean boys, Shofin Rutherford from Ghana and Chadwick Walton from Jamaica, along with Rutherford from Ghana, participating in the champion team in Karachi, led by the man himself, one of the finest all-rounders, Wasim Akram, getting over the hurdle and winning their first T20 title for the Pakistan Super League in 5 years. So that's exciting. We also see Kimmo Paul being signed up for the Big Bash League in Australia. So he'll now join his counterpart, Nicholas Puran. And so that's good news for West Indies cricket. In terms of the West Indies New Zealand tour, as you rightly said, there were some media reports coming out that the West Indies players would have broken down the protocol. I find that a little alarming and a little strange, but that's behind us right now, and so we're now looking ahead now to be able to start the T20 series on the 27th of November. And I want to say that I think that will be a very, very, very competitive series, and the West Indies favored to win that. In my prediction, 2-1, that 3-match T20 series. In terms of sports in the wider part of the Caribbean, the Antigua Barbuda Cricket Association, they're organizing a T10 League, which will take place in December. I think it will run from December 5th to the 19th. St. Kitts have just completed their T20 T-Dalaton finals, where the Molyneux and Cairn Cricket Club defeated Sandy Point. The Nevis Cricket Association, they're booming along with their T20 League. You've got some cricket taking place in Anguilla. Barbados, they also completed one of their competitions for their T20. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they have an ongoing tournament which is taking place. So all in all, in a small nutshell, sports quietly becoming a reality in the Caribbean. We still have to follow a lot of the protocols, health instructions, but hey, sports is alive, and if anything that we need to be able to fight this COVID, it just has to be sports. So this is Vernon Springer from St. John's Antigua for Island Stats. Just saying thanks in a very big way for giving me the opportunity, and God bless you, my brother.
Well, we had two reports from overseas. Obviously, around the Caribbean, things are picking up again. Weather is kind of stalling in Barbados, stifling things on the outside. But as we see, some countries are dealing very well with this COVID and the protocols that the governments have put in place, and others not so well. But we're hoping that a vaccine can be released soon, and those that decide to take it, and those that don't decide to take it, that their choice. But hopefully we can get back to a lot more normalcy by at least March of next year, and start to feel good about ourselves. In a place like Bermuda, we're going to need the visitor. We're going to need airplanes. We're going to need the cruise ships. We're going to need, if we don't, we're going to be looking at a dire 2021.
Yeah, Earl, I mean, I hate to keep singing the song about doom and gloom when it comes to COVID, when it comes to sports. Lack of funds. And you start off the show talking about some of our UK players, UK football players that are, seasons being interrupted, you say. They're in lower divisions, and what the problem is right now in the lower divisions as far as funding is concerned. the longer this goes on, this pandemic goes on, the more dire it gets. And for those teams, for those clubs, for those leagues, for our government, once again, the less money that's coming into the coffers, then there's going to be less money going out to the ministries, and especially our sports ministry. A lot, it's going to take a hit. It's going to take a hit. So if it takes a hit, then all the sports that come under the umbrella of the sports ministry is going to take a lack of funding. So the programs that it's frustrating because you may have programs in place, a 3-year, a 5-year plan that is really just gets uprooted because of the lack of funding. And we've seen this before in other times with recessions or this, that, and the other. But this is something that I'm trying to be optimistic, but it's worrying at the same time, especially when I know people's livelihoods are at stake.
Right. Well, brother, we had Juwan Roberts on. We've had Leilani Nisbet
today, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice when they get an opportunity to express themselves and tell their stories, because some people don't always get the opportunity to hear from people who are actually out there living it day by day. And I know one of the things, and I said this, and I asked her, Leilani, she's had a lot of injury challenges throughout her young career, and to be able to push all that to the side and be one of the leading role players in that Florida State team when she's called upon is a remarkable feat. And she's got plenty more years to go there. So, things could actually turn out to be a lot better.
Well, both our guests today, it shows a mark of perseverance. And that's what sports does, especially for champions. If you stick, as we say in cricket, stick at the wicket long enough, the runs will come. And that's, like I said, going through the ups and downs. Golf is that sport. We've talked about it. You can have a great day, and the next day it's, okay, how do we play this game again? But to still come out of that. So injuries play a part. Injuries play a part in sport. I have not known not one athlete to go through the whole career without an injury.
Right.
That happens. What do you do when that happens? And then you win something, man, it just feels so much. All that pain, ice baths, and sitting on the trainer's table and stretching and up all night and this and early morning. It's all worth it. So to have a champion or two champions on today, man, it just shows what happens with perseverance.
Yeah. Any parting words?
Yes. Obviously, keep an eye on the show Mondays, Sundays, and Mondays, but especially Sundays. So once again, you went against St. George's. I'm not you're picking against.
I won.
You cannot.
I won it.
I'm pretty sure you cannot go back to St. George's anytime soon.
Listen, I'm welcome in all 9 parishes.
Okay. Now, actually, just looking forward to this week. You mentioned about Malachi Jones and Ali Douglas joining the Thomas Cricket Club. I'm wondering if they're going to be able to join the team for this week as they'll be taking on PHC at Thomas Cricket Club. I believe that game is on Sunday. It's on Sunday. Just taking a look at the games this week. A couple of weeks ago, we had rivalry week.
Yes.
Don't be surprised. This might be upset.
Well,
heard it here first.
Yeah.
There's some matchups that
could go either way.
Somerset play PAC, Cougars play Robin Hood, Anytown play St. George's, North Village play Eagles.
I know, looking at it from the outside looking in, this could be an opportunity if Dandytown want to use this particular game to give the players that have these niggling injuries another week off. But it could come back to haunt them. So it's one of those tricky ones.
It's before we get just talking about football, that's the other thing that I think we was talking about prior to the league starting out, or prior to the our sports starting up with COVID. Not just here on the island, but around the world. And we're seeing this definitely in English Premier. Injuries.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a lot more injuries through this period, and how teams have to manage you hear these coaches now, they didn't even want to let the players go on international leave anymore because they're coming back injured, and you know they're going to have to play the games regardless. But it's how do you manage that player, because you know without getting on the training ground, you know they're almost just playing and recuperating or resting or taking care of an injury. So I'm hoping that these leagues, they might have to reduce some of these games. We saw that happen in NBA.
Yeah, actually in England, they just passed the rule that they're going to be able to use 5 subs.
Yes.
They can have up to 9 people on the bench, but only 5 subs can be used. So
now you remember at the beginning of the season, the lower division, the lower teams, the teams that weren't as good, they were complaining. They did not want that to happen because they felt that's even the playing field for them.
Right.
But those top teams who are traveling, playing in multiple competitions, and you want to, and not only that, remember these teams or these clubs, these competitions, they put those major players out. They use those major players for the income.
Yeah.
If you take those major players out, then competition is not as good as product is not as good, I would say. So once again, 2020. I mean, we just got to go along for the ride, and I'm
not over yet.
Yeah, it's not over yet. I'm just gonna keep going with it. So until next week.
Take your popcorn even into 2021 on January 20th. We'll have a show for that.
And one last thing, Mr. Roberts did say you can go buy some tailor-made clubs because they're very forgiving when you like to slice. That's all.
I don't slice the ball because I don't hit it that far to slice it.
Any person I know plays golf and wears a helmet at the same time.
You never know you got to run. Well, buddy, have a good night. See?
Take care, buddy.
All right.